That's not necessary, you know. It shouldn't happen. And if we really put our minds to it, it doesn't take much mind. What it takes is heart, you know. If we can love at a distance, you have to also respect the possibility that there's intelligence in other people and people you hate. One time I was having a talk with Saddam Hussein, and he wanted to know about President Johnson. And so I said, well, you know, he was a school teacher. He started out, he went to, first place he had was in what we call the Valley in Texas, which is down the Rio Grande Valley, where Brownsville is the southernmost town down there. But there are just a lot of Mexican American and Mexican kids there. And he came from the hill country, Fredericksburg, and a bunch of Germans, and they all had high leather shoes, and everybody had shoes. And the first day down there, the children came in, they didn't have shoes. And so help me, I have seen him cry twice in the Oval Office where the president hangs out. When all of a sudden he's, you know, Vietnam and all this is going on, and it comes back to him that those little Mexican children, Mexican American probably, most of them, but some of them just come across the river because they couldn't get an education or go to school on the other side, and it's easy to get across. And he cried, a grown man crying, because the kids didn't have shoes. But he'd go over at night, late night, every morning, 3 a.m., something like that, whenever the results of the day before were coming in. And he's interested in two things, the body count. And the body count was how many Vietnamese, all of the reports that would come in daily from all the military action that was going on, most of them were estimates, and probably most of them were inflated because you were a better commander if you could kill more bodies. But the body count was high, and it was accompanied by a low loss of our planes. You'd want to know how many planes did we lose, how many Vietnamese did we kill. And if the body count was low, we didn't kill many, and the plane loss was high, he was in a mean mood all day. He didn't want to ask for more money for some project you had or some authorization or something. Just stay behind your desk and keep your head low. But if the body count was high, in other words, if we killed a lot of folks, and if the plane loss was low, then you go rushing over and say, hey, I need a couple of million for this proposition, for this organized crime expedition or something like that. And I was telling Saddam Hussein this story, and he thought for a while, and he said, by the way, he had 3 translators. Most big shots from other countries will have one translator, and they're not really too interested in the translation. What they're interested in is telling the other person what they want him to know. And if they get half of what he says, that's okay. And they say, oh, we'll think about it. But Saddam Hussein used 3 translators, and with me, he always used the preeminent Shakespearean scholar. One time I made a bad mistake. We were talking, and it was a day that we were trying to nudge, our government was trying to nudge Arafat out of a peace conference. And Saddam Hussein had read in the paper, or wherever he read his information from, it said Arafat excluded from peace conference. And he turned to me, and he knew I'd represented the PLO for not 30 years altogether. I don't know how many it was at that time, maybe 20. He said, what do you make of that? Arafat's not coming to the peace conference. How can you have a peace conference without him? I said, well, I guess they don't really want peace, because you can't have a peace, you can't have an agreement with the Palestinians without having the head of the government there who has the support of the people. But what he said about the children and the adults, and what he said about the soldiers